Hello and welcome to Potterwatch from Page to Screen, episode 20. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Lucy.
Last time we had a look into life at the Weasleys and took a trip to Borgin and Burke's.
Today we'll be buying all our supplies from Diagon Alley and flying the car to Hogwarts. But before we begin, let's take a look into the sorting hat. I'll have a Harry Potter question and Elizabeth's will be totally random.
Sure, yeah. I failed to warn you that I've flipped round how we do the introduction because it really annoys me that I say what we do first and then you say last time, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So sorry if that jarred you. Okay, so I guess it's me going first with the random one, right? Okay. For 2 weeks you have unlimited money. You can apparate anywhere, even overseas, and everything else in your life goes on pause. What would you do? So teleportation on, and you have unlimited money.
Okay.
And literally everything else goes on pause, so nobody else is involved, it's just you.
How long have I got? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay. Oh, everything. Wait, but I can... The people... So...
You cannot bring anyone. This is entirely selfish.
Like, interact with people. It's not like everyone's physically paused. Like, I can... Because I need to buy stuff.
Yes, so I think if in the instance, like if you said, oh, I would go to Disneyland, then all the rides would be operational. You could go to shops and everything, like...
So...
The people who you need to be making purchases with. But I think that's about it.
Okay. See, my immediate thought is find someone who can help me access a spaceship.
Okay.
Like Elon Musk or something. I don't know, I feel like I don't really know what Elon Musk does, but I feel like he could get me a spaceship.
Yeah.
I'd find Elon Musk, I would get like a crew of astronauts together.
Teleportation is a thing. And I would not count that as in like I would not limit that to Earth. So if you are going to say that you want to go to the moon, all you need to do is get a spacesuit.
Exactly.
Don't need a rocket.
Well, but rockets are just cool.
I guess so. Yeah, you could say, or I like want it for the experience of going in a rocket ship.
Just the vibes.
Yeah. Okay.
Or I'd hop from planet to planet for 2 weeks, trying to find alien life.
Oh yeah.
And documenting it.
Nice. Yeah.
Or I'd just go on I'd like go on a nice holiday to like Italy. Or something.
I think that's your answer. So you would do...
I'd do a week in Italy, week in space looking for aliens.
Okay, I think that's a good shout.
Yeah.
Week of relaxation and then a week of like feverish science exploration. That's a good answer. I did not think of space, honestly. I like that you're thinking of like, well, I guess not the bettering of life, but like the bettering of scientific
it makes me so angry
discovery.
That I was thinking about this, genuinely I was thinking about this today. It makes me so angry that I, like, personally, obviously aliens exist. For me, that personally I think that's just
I think
obvious,
that's
but
clear.
It makes me so angry that I will almost certainly not live to see the day where it can ever be proved.
Yes, yeah.
So I'll be that person, just mainly for my own personal emotional gain than for science.
Well, but it would be crazy. But then how would you explain? I guess you can have like, for me it would be like you can keep everything that you do. So if you have like all of these journals and everything and photographs and stuff, but how would you explain like, right, so for 2 weeks
I kind of froze time and teleported to a different
I travelled the cosmos. Yeah, but I mean, if you've got photographic evidence.
Well, but it can be faked, can't it?
True, yeah. But you would know.
But I'd know.
You would know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what really matters.
Yeah. Right, I guess I have to come up with what I would do. I think I would split it up in weeks as well. So I'd do one thing one week, one thing the other week.
Nice.
One week I would do theme park hopping.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
So I've always wanted to go to Disneyland Tokyo,
Mm.
also Orlando, Universal Tokyo. I've always obviously wanted to go to Harry Potter World in Orlando because it has like the Hogwarts Express linked with, and if everything else is paused, I
Yeah.
could like have done everything I want to do in like half a day.
Yeah.
You know, those rides take like 3 minutes tops.
Mm. Yeah, no, theme parks are a really good call, like just for the sake of queue jumping.
Yeah, I could probably do like I think all of the Disneylands
I've,
and the Harry Potters in a week, I think.
I
Um,
just thought about teleporting into the Warner Brothers Studios like archive.
yes.
That would be good.
Oh, yeah, that would be
I'd
interesting.
probably also I'd do like okay, let me revise my answer. I'd do
Okay.
first half of the week in Italy, second half like going just teleporting into places that are like I would never normally be able to go into, even with
Hmm.
any amount of money.
Hmm. Okay.
And then I'd do a week in space.
Okay. Good what would that be?
Amendment?
Amendment? Yeah.
Mm.
Amendation.
Amendation.
Okay, that and then I would also, just I find it really hard to choose between merch. So I would just get
Mm.
all of the things that I
All the
want just immediately, just be as fast as possible. I think it'd be quite a stressful week to be honest, but it'd be fun. And then when I'm back in like normal life, I can just take them back or sell them
mm.
on or give them second hand to people who
Mm.
can't afford things that I don't want. That'd be cool.
Mm.
And then the second week, I would go, I would want to try and visit like every country for at least like a few minutes
That
in the
nice.
world.
That's wow.
I think that's
That's a
that's what
good
I would do.
that's yeah. That's a good one.
And like try and like have like a snack or a meal or something in
Mm.
each country,
And
unless
a
it's like a
photo.
really like the Sahara Desert or something,
Yeah.
like a really barren country, the North Pole, like or like go to like the Seven Wonders, like Everest.
Mm.
I don't think Everest is one of the Seven Wonders, but like Everest and then the Seven Wonders and all of
Yeah.
those like
Yeah.
really touristy places as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, so theme parks. And then like as you say,
Every
like
country.
yours has like a sensible one and then like just a relaxing holiday or like a I guess I don't know which one of yours would be sensible. They're both
I
pretty
mean,
pretty
I
cool.
don't know if flying through space searching for aliens is the most sensible,
Yeah.
but it's the most obvious.
Yeah. And then, between us, I could like get
Mm.
two of each of all of the merch. So you could have all of the
Mm.
merch from whatever you want.
Yeah, and I can
You can
give
show me
my
all
best
of
regards to
your,
aliens
yeah, from me.
from you. Elizabeth says hi, my Earth friend.
My Earth friend. She's currently Disneyland hopping.
Yeah, yeah. She wanted. We could have 2 weeks to do anything we want. She went to Disneyland.
Yeah,
No,
it says a
theme
lot about my
parks.
character.
I didn't think about theme parks. That is a good one.
I just
Skipping
theme
queues.
parks are a massive like, well, not even guilty pleasure, just
You don't even really like roller coasters, though, do you?
oh, I like roller coasters, just
Do
as long as
you?
they
Just
don't
not
go
the
upside
spinny
down.
ones. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
as soon as they go upside down, I hate it. But
Hmm.
next time we go to Alton Towers, I really, really want to try oh, what's the drop one where you lean over and then it
Oh, Oblivion.
Oblivion. I
Oblivion's
think I
good
would
because
like
there's
that.
always no queue because it's quite old. I
Yeah.
can't wait to go back to
Um,
Alton Towers. I think we're planning a
yeah.
trip this summer,
Oh,
probably.
nice.
Me and some of my friends. Oh,
Nice.
very excited.
Yeah. And I was talking about that with a friend the other day about theme park rides and which ones. And she was like, I think you would really like Oblivion if you asked to sit in the back row.
Huh.
Because because I said, oh, I feel like I would be uncomfortable because the illusion is that you're going to hit the side of the tunnel as you
Right.
go down. That's part of like the thrill.
Yeah.
So she was like, well, that's not really there if you're in the back row. And she said, and the tipping isn't so bad if you're like behind other people as well.
Because yeah. And it's more of like I feel like, I think I've only ever been on the front row, but on the front row it feels like it's kind of just you, just dangling. And I guess having a line of people in
You
front
at
of
least
you, it
have
kind
like
of takes you
the
out of it a
I'm
bit
on a
more.
ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I like those. Like in Disneyland. I don't, if you ever been to Disneyland?
Nope.
Okay, so there's one that it's just like a drop that pulls you down faster than gravity.
Oh, right.
Um,
That's pretty
I
cool.
Yeah, and it does it like every single time. It's completely random. So the length or the speed of the drops is completely random. You can't predict it, and I loved it. It's easily one of the most scariest rides in the whole park, and I loved it. 13 from Alton Towers is my favourite, and that's probably considered the
13's really
scariest one
cool.
apart from the Smiler.
13's like the most like unconventional, I guess.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of the other ones, Alton Towers, it's like, whoa, we're going around a loop, and then,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and Disneyland, I'd want to go and see all the princesses and stuff and have a parade all to myself.
yeah, you can lead the parade as well.
Yeah.
March down, yeah.
Yeah. All of the characters would just wave at me because it's just me. But one of my biggest regrets, and I know this is going to sound really childish and juvenile, but I've only ever been to Disneyland France, Disneyland Paris, and Rapunzel waved at me in the parade, which is quite rare to get like a this wave is for you kind of thing. And because she stopped and waved, and she couldn't come over because she'd already seen someone else and she needed to move on, but she did stop and wave because she saw that I had Rapunzel ears on. And I don't know why. This is going to sound so stupid, but one of my biggest regrets is not yelling, "I love you!" I don't know why. So I just want to like,
Yell, I love you at all the Disney princesses.
yeah, well, especially Rapunzel. Rapunzel means a lot to me. Me and Roman bonded a lot over Tangled. A lot of our wedding was about Tangled. And I just love that Rapunzel is one of those characters that's like feminist without trying to be feminist.
Yeah, like she's not patronising.
Yeah, well, or the not her even, just the
No, as
what
in
Disney
the
did.
yeah, no, exactly. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not like oh, you want a girly movie? Okay.
Yeah,
Woo.
which
Yeah.
was my main gripe with Frozen, was that it's like it's about sister love and nothing else. Elsa is very strong. You must know this. Yeah, yelling "I love you" Rapunzel is definitely on this. So yeah, I don't know what that says about my character, that I would spend that priceless gift on Disneyland, but I guess there are worse things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, should we have our Harry Potter? So me and Lucy are giggling a bit because this is actually a question that I have written. So we will need
Run out of
to
questions.
we'll need to write
Yeah.
one. So I'll try and hold it up.
Oh,
If you
okay.
can read
me-
my atrocious
Oh,
handwriting.
lovely. Okay.
Um,
I'll ask it as if I'm asking you, and you have to
Okay.
act really surprised at what great question I've
I
written.
mean, I haven't read it. This is
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Which way Harry escapes Privet Drive in the summer is your favourite, and why?
okay.
Isn't that a great question?
It's amazing, Lucy. I love that question. So what do we have? We've got first year with Hagrid, second year Ford Anglia, which we've just done. Third year with
Aunt Marge
Aunt Marge and the Night
and the Night
Bus.
Bus. Yeah.
Fourth year. What happens fourth year?
It's the World Cup, so they can win the
World
fireplace,
Cup.
don't they?
Oh yeah, the fireplace. Yeah. Fifth year.
I think he gets picked up by Dumbledore to go to the here to
Oh, to the
go.
hearing.
Oh no, or maybe I'm thinking of the sixth one.
Oh no, yeah, that is the sixth one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because that's it with all the Grimmauld Place
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
What happens in the fifth one? I did write all of this down, but that's all on my old phone.
Mm.
Whoops.
Um,
Fifth one.
I do know that the fifth one
Who's the
is
defense against? Oh, that's Umbridge.
the fifth one is when there's the bit about him lying.
Oh yeah.
There's the Dementors. That's that one, isn't it? And then
Oh,
it's when he has to go to the hearing, but I don't.
do Mad Eye and all of that lot
Oh,
come?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they all
Mad Eye
come
and all of that lot.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. They all arrive and fly off on like brooms and stuff.
Yeah, and then as you said, six is the
Dumbledore.
hearing
Yeah.
and Dumbledore, and oh no, six is so fifth is the hearing and sixth is with Slughorn, isn't it?
Right, sorry, that's what I mean, but that's when Dumbledore writes him the letter and there's
Yes.
the whole bit about Harry like waiting and his breath fogged up the window, he's looking for the
Yes,
And,
and
yeah.
in the film it's with the girl and
Yeah. Yeah.
Dumbledore standing in front of that
Poster.
hilarious poster.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then
the seven
seven
is
is
seven Harrys.
they just kind of yeah. Oh yeah, okay. You know what? This is a really good question because I really love the Privet Drive bits at the beginning of each book.
Me too.
I don't know why, but particularly the one in the fifth one where he's like lying in the flowers.
Yeah. I think
I'm
it's a
after
good
reading Harry
reminder
Potter
of
now.
like
It always puts me in the mood.
how crazy magic is.
Yeah.
I think reading like when you read books like Lord of the Rings or something
You
really
almost
high
forget.
fantasy, you're like this isn't not normal what's happening in this book. I like the kind of plunge back into
Juxtaposition.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
I know mine straight away.
Okay, go for it.
Number 4 when they come
With the
through
fireplace.
the fireplace. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Followed
mean,
very, 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 very closely with number 6, with Dumbledore coming and whacking the Dursleys over the head with glasses and telling them off for not treating Harry well. But that makes me salty because I'm like, well, Dumbledore, you really could have said something.
yeah.
It's been 17 years. 16 years. 17, technically, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so probably 4th. Yeah.
Mm. I mean, I am a bit of a sucker for the third book and film. I do really
is a
love the
good
Night
one.
Bus. I love the Night Bus like across all books,
Yes, it's a great
particularly in the
concept.
fifth one. I would probably go 6, 5, and the Dursleys bits of 5 and 6 are my favourites, and I'd probably just something about the way it's written as well, and like it's
The
like
mundaneness of it
one of my
all.
favourite chapters when he's like staying up like reading the letter over and over again, and I mean they all talk about him like just wedging loads of stuff in his trunk before he has to go, which I also love because it's very
I really like that
accurate.
Harry is messy.
Yeah.
I love
too.
that that's one of his like main character tropes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd probably go 6, I think.
Okay.
That's a really good question.
Well, thank
I
you.
mean,
That's
isn't
a really
such a
good question, Lucy.
Thank you. Nice. Smooth.
Yeah, that was totally. They'll never see it. No one will ever know. Okay, well, I guess we'll get on with our episode then.
Crack on.
Crack on.
Hook on.
What is that?
It's from Back to the Future too.
Oh, okay. I'm not too well acquainted with Back to the Future, unfortunately.
Maybe I'll start a spin-off Back to the Future podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would you do it with? Who would you betray me with?
Just me.
Oh, okay. Go solo.
Solo
Start a
career.
solo career. To be honest, that wouldn't make me it wouldn't make me mad at all. you doing another podcast with or without somebody else. But that, if I would have a preferred option, it would be on your own. I think you would be really good on your own.
Thanks.
Not that you're bad
Well,
at social interaction.
I mean, there is that. There is that.
Well, I don't. Well, to me, you're not as bad at this.
I
But
didn't. I
maybe
have
it's a
known
bit
you
more
since I was
natural with me.
3 years old, but maybe
Yeah,
that has something to do with it. I don't know.
it's just a little something. It definitely has for me, I must admit. I'm not great. So, our first stop, you, as per usual, when going into town for outings, is to go to the bank to get one's stash.
Stash.
And Harry sees Hermione's parents, who are exchanging Muggle money into wizard money. This is in the book, obviously. This is a really strange detail. I think we might have mentioned it last episode, but I think it's worth mentioning again that it says a few pages ago, says, of course, it was only in the wizarding world that he, being Harry, had money. You couldn't use galleons, sickles, and nuts in Muggle shops. But Hermione's parents are exchanging their money into wizard money, so you would assume that you can do it the other way around. So it's a bit weird, but
I mean, I think Harry's just a bit dumb.
yeah.
That's the only logical explanation.
Yeah. Yeah, or, well, it kind of makes sense because he assumes that's up until this point, and then he sees her parents, and so he must realise, oh no, the Dursleys could easily have all of my money. So maybe that's it, but I really, I think maybe we have to blame good old JK for this one. Also, we have more of Harry feeling very guilty about how much money he has compared to the Weasleys. So I'm going to read a little bit of that from the book. It says, Harry enjoyed the breakneck journey down to the Weasleys' vault, but felt dreadful, far worse than he had in Knockturn Alley when it was opened. There was a very small pile of silver sickles inside, and just one galleon. So this is the Weasleys' vault. And it says, Harry felt even worse when they reached his vault. He tried to block the contents from view as he hastily shoved handfuls of coins into a leather bag. But he quickly gets over it, apparently, because it says, the bag of gold, silver and bronze jangling cheerfully in Harry's pocket was clamouring to be spent. So he bought 3 large strawberry and peanut butter ice creams, which I believe are available in the actual Florian Fortescues in Orlando. I believe that's a flavour that you can get. And if it's not, they better do that quick. Yeah. I think my mum has had that.
I think Ben and Jerry's might have done a flavour of that. I think they did like a Harry Potter kind of
special
sponsorship, collaboration type thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up.
I should look it up. Ben and this is just not important at all.
I definitely
Harry Potter flavour. Oh, it's come up in the suggested search terms.
Maybe I had, because I had a birthday that was Florian Fortescue's themed, so I might have found some that were. I remember having one that was strawberry and.
Yeah, my mum's definitely had that flavour before. Let's see if I just type in very specifically strawberry and peanut butter. No, I can't see anything. The closest one is strawberry cheesecake.
Okay.
But oh well, maybe it was something.
Ben and Jerry's.
It's just not.
Or maybe I might have just had peanut butter ice cream, and
mixed with.
They do peanut butter cup, which is like Reese's cups.
Yeah.
So
that sounds nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love Reese's. I had a Reese's egg the other day. We need to stay on track, but I had like cream eggs. It was like a chocolate egg filled with like
Oh,
Reese's peanut butter.
I couldn't do that.
I love
I'm
it.
not a big fan of Reese's, but
I love
I
Reese's.
could
Oh,
probably deal with it in the ice cream, but it's
mhm.
just too much peanut butter for me.
Oh no, I don't think there's such a concept as too much peanut butter. I love it. I love Reese's
That I
so
can agree
much.
with, but in Reese's seem to be the exception. But I do love peanut butter.
Mm, yeah.
Anyway, so yes, Harry buys a peanut butter and strawberry ice cream each for him, Hermione, and Ron. We get a little bit of foreshadowing. Obviously, sorry, the ice cream is only in the book. That's why we're
Mhm.
mentioning it. If you're new here, it's book to film differences. That's not in the film. In the book, we get a bit of foreshadowing of Percy's future, which I don't think I've ever cottoned on to this before. And I don't know whether it's on purpose or whatever, but it's kind of a jovial knock to what he's going to be like in the future. It says, in a tiny junk shop full of broken wands, wonky brass scales, and old cloaks covered in potion stands, they found Percy, deeply immersed in a small and deeply boring book called Prefects Who Gained Power, a study of Hogwarts prefects and their later careers. Ron read aloud off the back cover. That sounds fascinating. Go away, Percy snapped. So yes, I mean it I think this is where it really comes into effect, the thing that we keep on saying about the sorting, where you're sorted into the house that you admire to be and not what you actually are,
That's
because
exactly what I
Percy
was just
is
gonna say.
totally Slytherin.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, he's got a bit of Ravenclaw. I think he was probably a hat stall. I don't know.
yeah.
It
I
would
don't know. I
surprise me if
think
he
he is
wasn't
a
a hat
little
stall.
bit too close-minded to be a Ravenclaw.
Oh, that's
But I
true.
think he
Yeah.
does value knowledge, but not in the way that Ravenclaws value knowledge, if that makes sense. He values like
Yes.
correctness
Yes.
rather
Yeah.
than knowledge, I think, and like
Yeah.
wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah,
Seeking out any answer.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. I always forget that about Ravenclaws, actually.
Me too. I'm like, wow, you're so smart, you're such a Ravenclaw. And I'm like, hang on, they take further maths, they're not a Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Oh dear. Then the group goes to Flourish and Blots, where Gilderoy Lockhart is having his book signing. Obviously, this is in the film, but in the book it details the crowd seemed to be made up mostly of witches around Mrs. Weasley's age, which I kind of had the thought of, like, it gives me like a Michael Bublé vibe.
Yeah,
Of, like,
yeah,
you know
that's.
how I always feel like Michael Bublé is really popular with women around 40 to 50.
Mhm.
Even though I love Michael Bublé, to be fair, and I'm 25.
Mm,
Um,
I
but
don't
I
have
guess
much of an
there are
opinion on.
weirdos in every group.
Mm, that's a valid observation. I also just, I don't know if this, but I just want to mention Julie Walters' stumble in the film.
Yes, she's excellent. She's
Mhm.
excellent in this
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
So now we just wanted to do a little bit of comparison from Gilderoy to the Gilderoy in the book to Gilderoy in the film. So I'll read a little bit of an excerpt of him. Oh, and I just wanted, I wrote in my book, I wanted to point out that it's interesting that at most book signings, the author is surrounded by their books, but the only product that Lockhart is surrounded by is himself.
Mm,
He's selling himself. Like, it's very telling that he's got all of these. It in the book and the film, it's very clear that he's very self-involved. He's got all of these paintings, and you can't really see many of his books apart from the ones that he's signing.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, usually in a book signing, you'll have a big, on an easel, a big poster of the book, and then
And then big
towers
stacks
of
of them,
books.
and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but he just has paintings of himself,
Hmm.
which I think is quite foreshadowing of you know trying. I think it's a really clever hint of
Yeah.
what he's actually selling.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, anyway, I shall read this description of Gilderoy. Gilderoy Lockhart came slowly into view, seated at a table surrounded by large pictures of his own face, all winking and flashing dazzlingly white teeth at the crowd. The real Lockhart was wearing robes of forget-me-not blue, which exactly matched his eyes. His pointed wizard's hat was set at a jaunty ankle on his wavy hair. So it's obviously not a whole lot of detail, but we can talk about like the general vibe that we get as well from the whole book. So clearly, me and you have both read these books numerous times,
Mm,
so we know
mm,
him very well. Um,
yeah.
so what are your
Also, I genuinely Lockhart is like one of my favourite characters,
yeah.
especially when he makes his little comeback in the fifth book.
Yes. Oh, he's so cute. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Yeah.
still self-obsessed,
Yes.
even when
Yeah,
he's
but in a
forgotten
really like
who he
innocent
is.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah. In like a 2-year-old kind of way.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
what?
you know, when you're in like year five and everyone is like practicing their signature, and it's like
Yes.
they're all ugly and not at all
Yeah.
good signatures. It's that kind of vibe that he gives off in the fifth one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a really good comparison. What do you think? Do you think they did a good job? Well, what's his name?
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh. He's the director for
I
Ragnarok, isn't he?
of what?
Ragnarok.
No.
Thor Ragnarok, isn't he? Or
Oh, he. I think he directed the first two Thor movies.
oh, really?
Taika Waititi directed Thor Ragnarok.
Ah, okay.
Oh yeah, I forgot he also didn't he direct like a really bad Frankenstein movie and star as Frankenstein.
I don't
I
know.
think he. Hang on, let me Google that.
I've just looked up Kenneth Branagh movies, and there's Murder on the Orient Express.
Hmm.
I don't know whether he stars in that one or
No,
directs it.
he's in it. He's the like detective.
Okay, I want movies that he's directed. Give
If
me
you go on
movies.
IMDb, there
Oh,
should
I've
be
just
like
gone
a.
on Wiki.
Ah.
I swear he had something to do with Ragnarok, though.
Well, he directed the first two Thors.
Yeah, he did. Because I
Oh
swear
yeah,
I
I've.
saw a meme saying like, "Oh, how weird is it that this guy would go on to be the director of?" Maybe it was just Thor.
Mm,
Oh, Cinderella, 2015 Cinderella.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And he
We
did
I
direct
found.
Murder on the Orient Express as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so he starred
Oh, I
and
didn't know
directed.
that. He's directed a lot.
Hmm.
You have to Google Kenneth Branagh and anyone. You have to Google Kenneth Branagh Frankenstein and just look at the images.
Okay.
Just
But yeah, the meme was like, "Oh, this I can't believe this guy went on to direct Thor," and then somebody commented saying, "Are you sure he directed it?" And he didn't just take take credit for it.
oh, he was with Helena Bonham Carter in it as well in Frankenstein. Anyway, I've only seen. I had to watch a bit of it in English literature, and it was just. It
Oh
was
my
a
gosh,
very.
he's literally just Gilderoy Lockhart
Yeah, yeah. He's
in.
book Gilderoy Lockhart basically with a beard.
Oh wow, it's very of its time, isn't it?
Yeah, very 90s, very
Yes,
1994.
yes.
Um, yeah, anyway.
I don't know why
Um,
this brings me so much joy. I'm glad you
I
told me to
know.
do this.
But yeah,
Anyway, yeah, Kenneth
I think
Branagh, what do you
I
think?
think in terms of like looks, he's fine, but he plays it perfectly. I don't think anyone else could have done
Oh yeah,
as good of a job.
agreed. I think his costuming, obviously that's not to do with Kenneth Branagh, but I think his costumes could have done with a little more colour. Because
Yeah,
J.K. Rowling, I don't know why, but to her it's very important what colour he's wearing. Like, I think because he's very vain,
that's
so
true.
to him, like, every morning he's like, right, which matching outfit should
Yeah,
I wear today?
I do. Yeah, he wears a lot of like salmon pink.
Yeah,
But I do.
blues,
Yeah,
because it's
aside from that, I think his costume design is great in terms of like
it looks all
it's one of the
fancy and
most. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ornate.
It's one of the most. Yeah, exactly. Ornate. That's a good word.
Thank
One
you.
of the most like extra um,
Yeah,
costumes of all the teachers, I
yeah.
think.
It's really nice to see him compared to Snape, like when they do the dueling
Mm,
scene, and
mm-hmm.
his like really, it's like a
It's like
fencing
yeah, yeah.
equipment, and then Snape's just in his like drab
Like yeah,
black robe.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did a great job. Do you think
Mm.
what do you think they did anything not as well?
Not really.
Mm.
I
I would have liked more of his little speeches to
Oh,
happen.
I agree. Also, I understand why they cut out the Valentine's Day bit of this book.
No, but it's
Like,
so
it's
brilliant.
so pointless. Like, it doesn't need to be in there. But
Yeah,
it's like the best bit of this whole
it
book.
is.
I mean,
It is.
we'll get there, but yeah,
Yeah, it's so
particularly
good.
his like hot pink or whatever it is, robes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he
it's
like
great.
matches the occasion. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, it's so good. I remember that bit on
Yeah.
Pottermore.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, well, cool. If anyone's listening would like to tell us if you
Hmm.
disagree or agree, please let us know. Let us know your opinions. So, what happens after they see Gilderoy is pretty similar. Harry gets pulled forward. He gets a set of free books. Draco comes and unpleasant pleasantries are shared. Um, and then we come back to a difference. So the first difference after that little bit of very on point accuracy, I would say,
Mm.
is that Ginny is a little bit more outspoken in the books, as per usual. So in the film, obviously, we just get the leave him
Leave him
alone.
alone.
Yeah. Your facial expression was perfect. With her like clenched teeth.
Yeah.
So she kind of like tries to come off as like menacing or something, I don't know.
Mm.
In the film, I guess. But in the book, it says, "Leave him alone. He didn't want all that." That's the way I read it anyway, because it has an
Mm.
exclamation on the end.
Hmm.
And then, like in the film and in the book, both Draco teases Harry because he's like, "Oh, you got yourself a girlfriend," which is incredibly
Joke's on
mature.
you.
Yeah.
Just give it 10 years, no point.
Yeah, hashtag Draco is a seer.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Lucius Malfoy turns up and talks to Mr. Weasley. And now we come across our first quite major difference in this episode. We've been quite
Mm.
small with our differences up
Hmm.
until now, but this is this is quite a significant change.
Mm.
So, Mr. Weasley and Mr. Malfoy have what I can only describe as an all-out brawl.
Mm. A physical fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
An exchange of fists.
Yeah.
High velocity high fiving.
Mm.
No, high
Yeah.
velocity fist bumping, I guess, because I
Mm.
don't remember slapping being involved.
No.
So I was just going to read all of that basically. It says, there was a thud of metal as Ginny's cauldron went flying. Mr. Weasley had thrown himself at Mr. Malfoy, knocking him backwards into a bookshelf. Dozens of heavy spell books came thundering down on all their heads. There was a yell of, "Get him, Dad!" from Fred or George. Mrs. Weasley was shrieking, "No, Arthur, no!" The crowd stampeded backwards, knocking more shelves over. "Gentlemen, please, please!" cried the assistant, and then, louder than all, "Break it up there, gents, break it up!" Hagrid was wading towards them through the sea of books. In an instant, he had pulled Mr. Weasley and Mr. Malfoy apart. I don't know why, but I imagine him like holding them by their cloaks and their like legs
Like
running.
one hand each. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mr. Weasley had a cut lip. and Mr. Malfoy had been hit in the eye by an encyclopedia of toadstools.
Hmm.
He was still holding Ginny's old Transfiguration book. He thrust it at her, his eyes glittering with malice. Here, girl, take your book. It's the best your father can give you. That's it, basically. That's the fight.
Hmm.
I love that. I just love that they just lose all control.
Yeah, yeah.
I also thought I had a thought that I don't know why I've never had before. Why don't the Weasleys when it mentions like oh that Ginny has a secondhand book, I was like, why don't the
Hmm.
Weasleys use the boys' old school books? Like, do they have to?
Hmm.
Do they return them and get money? Did they like sell them at the time or
Maybe.
yeah?
Yeah, no,
I
that's a
find
good
it
point. I
odd
never
that
thought of
like
that.
robes don't really seem very gendered either. So like, why couldn't
Yeah,
she have just had tailored
hand-me-downs.
robes? Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Also, another difference that isn't. I mean, maybe I missed it in the book. Maybe it does mention it. But you know how in the film, there's the bit where he puts the book back in Ginny's cauldron, and
Hmm.
there's a shot of
The
two books being put
diary.
back, and
Yeah.
then yeah, and then Harry looking confused.
Yeah.
That really
Yes, that
bothers me.
doesn't happen in the book at all.
No,
Like, it
no.
doesn't even mention, "Ooh, and there were two books."
Yeah, yeah. Or like, Harry noticed something strange. Like it just says he put it back in her cauldron, and I feel like
Yeah, I feel like it's good to kind of show it in this shot, but having Harry's reaction
yeah, or
is
or
odd.
I think maybe it should be happening, but kind of smaller in a
Mhm.
in a wide shot or something. So it's more of like a oh, you see it next time you
Yes,
see it
that's
when you
true.
rewatch
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
rather than it
Because it's
being
more of like
like
Harry's guess, isn't it, in the book that he's like,
yeah,
I think this is my theory, and then
mhm,
Lucius kind of confirms it. Is that how it
mhm,
goes?
yeah, yeah, I think so.
Um, yeah. Yeah, that's a good shout. Thank you for that. I
Mm,
missed that.
it just really bothers
Yeah, I can see why.
me. Mm,
It is a weird choice. It's definitely a choice. Like
mm, mhm,
as you say, it's just not in there at all in the book.
mm,
Oh yeah, I thought it was funny in the book that Mrs. Weasley's embarrassed because of Gilderoy Lockhart. She's like, oh, well, it says a fine example to set your children brawling in public. What Gilderoy Lockhart must have thought. But apparently, she doesn't really need to be that worried. It says, he was pleased, said Fred. Didn't you hear him as we were leaving? He was asking that bloke from the Daily Prophet if he'd be able to work the fight into his report. Says it was all publicity.
mm.
I love that little detail.
Yeah. Also, just quickly while we're still in Flourish and Blotts, I just
Hmm.
thought I'd add that this film, as far as I'm aware, is the only Harry Potter film that has a post-credit scene.
Oh,
I might have mentioned it before, but I just thought while we're in
mhm.
Flourish
I
and
don't
Blotts,
think you
there's
mentioned
just a
this before.
scene. Yeah, there's just a scene at the end where it's outside Flourish and
Uh-huh,
Blotts, and it's got a Gilderoy Lockhart book in the window.
uh-huh.
Let me Google what it is.
I
Um,
think it's got like his face on the front.
yeah,
He's like
and
smiling and winking or something.
well, it's like him in a straight jacket. Yeah, it says "Who am I?"
Oh,
and
oh yeah.
it's got a photo of him in a straight jacket, which yeah, just thought that was fun little fact.
Yes, yes, thank you. I'd completely forgotten about that.
Mm,
I don't know whether I saw that in the, because I was very young when we saw the film, because I remember seeing it at the cinema. I
hmm.
definitely remember that, but I
Right,
can't remember whether
if you
we
stayed.
must have because we have a tradi in my family, there's a tradition of staying until the very
Yeah,
end of the
yeah,
credits.
same. And I always feel like I always feel like I'm really annoying the people who want to come and clear up. And I also feel like people think I'm
Yes,
stupid because
they're
I
like,
think there's going to be an after credit
yeah,
scene. But I just like staying for the
yeah,
credits.
yeah. We always used to try and see if there was one of our names in the
Hmm.
credits.
We do that with normal movies as well. And Tim always wins.
Yeah, Andrew always wins.
Yeah.
There's always one, isn't there?
Yeah.
I get a few, but it's only with Z. I don't think
Mm,
I think I've seen one with S. If listeners don't know, my name is spelt with an S, not a Z. Um, so I think I've only seen one.
yeah. I've seen very few Lucy's.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Lucy's, is there?
No.
Well, thank you for that little reminder. I forgot about that. And yeah, as always, we come to the end of the chapter in the book, and there's always a nice little.
As always. Sorry. The ways. You know what? Isn't that funny? The chapter finishes. As always.
Well, it's because I was reading the script, and the script says as always, and then I went on a completely different tangent. Oh,
Sorry.
you make me feel like a fool. Yeah. As always, the chapter ends. And as always, it's a lovely ending. So I just thought I would read that as well. Harry took off his glasses and put them safely in his pocket before helping himself to flue powder. It definitely wasn't his favourite way to travel. I miss that because I feel like she kind of comes out of that nice habit after a while.
Yeah,
I
it
miss
starts
it.
being more just putting in random chapter breaks whenever
Yeah,
she's been writing for too long.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, over to you,
All
Lucy.
right. Thank you very much.
Take us to Hogwarts.
So we see again in the next chapter, which as always begins, just how
You're never going to let
jealous,
me live that down,
how jealous Harry is of Ron, and how happy he is at the Burrow. He says, well, the narrator says, the end of the summer holidays came too quickly for Harry's liking. He was looking forward to getting back to Hogwarts, but his month at the Burrow had been the happiest of his life. Oh, that's really sad.
I know. Of his
It was
life,
difficult.
of his entire life.
Yeah, and he's, what, 12? No,
Yeah.
11.
Well,
Wait, no, just about 12. Yeah. It was difficult not to feel jealous of Ron when he thought of the Dursleys and the sort of welcome he could expect next time he turned up in Privet Drive. On their last evening, Mrs. Weasley conjured up a sumptuous dinner, which included all of Harry's favourite things, ending with a mouth-watering treacle pudding. They talk about treacle pudding and treacle tarts a lot, don't they?
pardon?
Fred and George, the treacle tart and treacle pudding is mentioned a lot throughout the book.
I wonder if it's a favourite of J.K.
I
Rowling's.
suppose so.
Because she does that a lot with Harry in particular, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah.
Carry on and I'll look it up.
Okay. Fred and George rounded off the evening with a display of filibuster fireworks. They filled the kitchen with red and blue stars that bounced from ceiling to wall for at least half an hour. Then it was time for a last mug of hot chocolate and bed.
Nope. I don't know whether it was her favourite.
I
Just says
imagine
it was Harry's favourite. But she probably likes
nice.
it.
Probably. You know, I mean, you do know, but I had a treacle tart for my 17th birthday.
Yes,
because
and
it's
you were
Harry's-
asking us
Harry's
like,
favourite.
where is the evidence for Harry it being a favourite? And
Yeah.
I think I was the one that
Because-
mentioned this one, and my mum actually found a much better one,
She is
as
the-
per
the-
usual.
What's the
She's the
word?
fountain of all Harry Potter knowledge.
Yeah.
The Harry Potter oracle.
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those things that I was like, I knew he loved treacle tart. I guess because she just mentioned it so many
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Anyway,
It is mentioned a lot.
yeah. So, to get them all to King's Cross, Mr. Weasley has to make yet more modifications to the Ford Anglia. He says, not a word to
Sorry.
Molly, he whispered. What? Oh, I'm just laughing.
Yeah,
at
I'm
what you
just
said.
sorry. I'm just preemptively laughing.
Not a word to Molly, he whispered to Harry as he opened the boot and showed him how it had been magically expanded so the trunks fitted easily. When at last they were all in the car, Mrs. Weasley glanced into the back seat, where Harry, Ron, Fred, George and Percy were all sitting comfortably side by side, and said, Muggles do know more than we give them credit for, don't they? She and Ginny got into the front seat, which had been stretched so that it resembled a park bench. I mean, you'd never know it was this roomy from the outside, would you?
Oh.
Oh, Mrs. Weasley.
I just love, I don't know why, but it's kind of cute. It shows such naivety, where
Yeah.
wizards aren't very naive about like, but they're so naive about Muggle things.
Right, it's that like on both sides you have
Yes,
that kind of amazement
yes.
at what each group does. Yeah,
Because you'd
it's
think that
very
it was only like
wholesome.
one-sided, like, oh yeah, Muggles find wizards amazing.
Magic, yeah,
But I think we discussed this last episode, didn't we, as well?
probably. It's a common theme.
Yeah, that wizards find Muggles absolutely fascinating. Well,
Particularly, well, yeah, particularly Mr. Weasley.
yeah, yeah. That's what I was
Yeah.
just about to say. Maybe not to the extent of Mr. Weasley, but they, I think they're
I mean,
quite
they have Muggle studies, so yeah,
exactly,
there's
yeah.
some amount of
Yeah, there are like Muggle experts
right.
in the
Yeah.
wizarding world. Yeah.
Do you think most Muggle experts are Muggle-borns? That would make sense.
I don't know. I wouldn't expect so because, like, if you were Muggle born,
You don't
why
want to go
would you
into.
want to think about being a
That's
Muggle?
true. Yeah, or
But
maybe there must
maybe
be
like they're
some.
like
There
helpers
must
or
be,
something.
but there must be like Muggle political advisors, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
or
that
like
must be.
wizard advisors on Muggle. Like,
Yes.
there must be
Or
a
special advisor
Muggle-born
on Muggle
who.
relations or something.
Right, exactly. Who I would imagine is probably like the person who prepares the Minister of Magic to go and speak to the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
That
I
kind of
have a
thing.
feeling that I've read somewhere that Hermione did a lot for that in the Ministry after the war,
Oh yeah, that
but
makes
I
sense.
I can neither
That might be.
confirm or deny
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's a nice headcanon of it.
Yeah,
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 that makes sense.
yeah.
And then here comes Elizabeth's least favourite part of the whole series. Wow, that's a big claim. The Weasleys,
It
due to
really
a
is.
lack. I'm interested to hear your justification for this, but I mean, I'll. So the Weasleys, due to a lack of organisation, are incredibly late for the Hogwarts Express. It says he, being Harry, barely had time to wonder when he'd see it again, being the Burrow. When they were back, George had forgotten his box of filibuster fireworks. 5 minutes after that, they skidded to a halt in the yard so that Fred could run in for his broomstick. They had almost reached the motorway when Ginny shrieked that she'd left her diary. But, oh, nice little bit of foreshadowing there. By
Yeah,
the time
yeah.
she had clambered back into the car, they were running very late and tempers were running high. Why do you hate it?
Right, okay. Okay, this is to anyone else, this might sound like a crazy big revelation. I've told you that I've recently been diagnosed with OCD, right? Have I?
No.
Okay, I haven't.
Wow. Having a little
Excuse me.
podcast.
Well, I treat mental illness like I do with any other illness. So it's not
Yeah.
I'm
think
very
that's a good way to
casual,
look at it.
not in like oh, mental illness is nothing. Not like that, but I just don't
Without the
really
stigma.
yeah, because there's a lot of mental history of mental illness in my family, so I'm very sorry. I just don't think to mention it to anyone, and it's like, huh, by the way. So yeah, I used to think it was anxiety, but I have no idea how I didn't realize that it was OCD. I've recently been diagnosed with OCD. I've had it for a very long time. And my biggest, with a lot of mental health disorders, you have triggers, right? There are things that trigger, you're not just like, so for example, with OCD, you're not just obsessing 24/7, although in the worst cases, some people may be in that way. But usually you're not just obsessing 24/7. It's not like all the time. Certain things will set it off. And that's usually the case with many, many mental health disorders. And one of my biggest ones is time, being late for things. I mean, like, I am usually late for our podcast recordings. And I always feel absolutely terrible, even though Lucy really doesn't care.
Yeah, and I'm probably late just as many times.
I mean, usually you say, oh, well, that's okay because I'm late too, and it really calms me down, makes me feel so much better. But like, so if somebody says it was really weird in high school, like if somebody had invited me out to like a party or something, like, oh, I'm having a couple of people over. Be at my house around 7. I would be there at 7. At like 5 to 7. I'm like, it starts at 7. I'm here 5 to 7, and obviously nobody comes up until like 1/2 past. And I'm like, and then I'm like, but why is everybody late? And I'm like, it's just a massive thing to me. It's a really big deal for me. Time. And so usually one of my least favorite Friends episodes as well is when they're all trying to get ready for a thing that Ross is having. I can't remember what it is, but it's something to do with his job. He's like got a
I don't know
promotion or
Friends,
something.
so.
Yeah, I know. He's got a promotion or something, and they're all like trying to get ready, and they're running late. And the whole episode is about them running late. And I just can't watch it. I can't watch it because it makes me, it triggers me so much that it makes me run on an anxious high for like days.
Right.
And
Which you
this,
don't want to have that amount of emotional investment in Friends.
no, exactly. In a comedy meant to cheer you up. It just, I cannot tell you how much this upsets me that they all like, I see it as like if I was Molly or Arthur, I would see it as like a personal insult that my children have forgotten these things. Like, come on, it's your broom. How did you forget your broom? We are late. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can imagine what I'm like on the morning
Yeah.
when we have a flight, for example. It's a nightmare. So yeah, this is why this paragraph, including all of the deaths, it's the paragraph that makes me the most uncomfortable out of the whole series. Oh dear.
Nice. Well, I really like this paragraph. I think
Well,
it's
good.
so like spot on of what having to go on a journey with children is
Oh
like.
yeah, definitely.
You
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
Um.
I oh my gosh, since having Matilda. Yeah, we won't even go there. I'm just a nervous wreck the whole time. Yeah. Because Matilda needs all of this stuff and I always
Everything.
forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It is very accurate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it makes me so uncomfortable.
Maybe.
The accuracy, like, gives me flashbacks. Being late to things that are very important.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you're almost at the motorway, you can mail her the diary. You can
I
send it
know.
with an owl.
Like, yeah, you have Owl Post, possibly the
Yeah.
fastest postal service on, like, of all races. Not that any other reason, not that any other, like, beings have postal services. But, like,
Yeah.
Owl postal service is so fast. And the
Yeah.
broom as well. Like, Harry's broom comes with, like, 3 flipping owls carrying it. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Sorry.
Didn't think that would be the passage that we had such strong opinions about.
I do apologize, and I apologize for not telling you that. I just don't see it as well. I see it as important for me, but I'm like, well, it's just such a normal part of my life.
Right.
Mental health complications, I guess. That I just never think to tell people. I never think to mention it, and then it just comes up, and they're like, oh, so and it like something really specific comes up and I'll say, oh yeah, so like, well, that really bothers me because of my OCD, and then people will say, you have OCD? I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. I completely forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Weasley begs Molly to let him fly the car to King's Cross, but she very wisely does not allow that. I mean, it's a good call on her
Yeah,
part.
I mean, I'm very on on edge with this one as well. I always wonder,
Mm.
like, I go back and forth of like, that's a good decision, or fly the flipping car, you're late.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you have, well, yeah. I mean, we'll get to the invisibility boosters, but
Yeah, but like
anyway.
if they're in a traffic jam, just
Yeah.
seeing the car disappear in front of you when all that's all you're looking at for like 20 minutes,
Mm.
just rolling, it's going
Yeah.
to be noticeable. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably a good call.
That's true. And then, of course, Harry and Ron can't get through the barrier at platform 9 3/4 and decide that the most sensible option, instead of, waiting for Mr. and Mrs. Weasley to come back,
Sending
is
an
to fly
owl.
the car to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, that's dumb. Second of all, they're just stranding Ron's parents.
I know. Thank
Like,
you.
what
Yes.
it's a bit rude.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how
mm,
how do they get
yeah,
back?
I mean, as we said, Harry is an idiot. That's the only
Yes.
explanation for
And
most
Ron
of
is
most of the
like his
series.
biggest enabler.
Yeah, that's so accurate. Harry's like a bit of an idiot when he's by himself, but when he's with Ron, he like believes, like he
I guess
commits
Ron
to his
isn't like I think
stupid ideas.
yeah, Ron I think is
Ron's like
just
the
very
best hype
similar
man,
to
and
yeah,
yet, like
yeah.
also that's
I
a
don't think
weakness.
Ron is stupid,
Hmm.
but I think him
He's
and
just like, yeah,
Harry are
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
similar. Yeah, like yeah,
yeah, yeah.
my best friend thinks that's a
Right.
good idea, so obviously I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
my
think
best friend
Hype
who's
Man
also
is a
Harry
good
Potter. He's the
yeah.
chosen one. He knows what he's doing here. Come on, people.
But I am the chosen one. Yeah, Hype Man
So
is a
then,
really good way of describing Ron.
then we have a description from Harry about what it's like to turn invisible, which is very different to how he describes wearing the cloak. Um,
I found this
it
really
says,
interesting.
no, yeah, yes, I can't form sentences at the moment. I'll just read the quote. It says, Ron pressed a tiny silver button on the dashboard. The car around them vanished, and so did they. Harry could feel the seat vibrating beneath him, hear the engine, feel his hands on his knees and his glasses on his nose. But for all he could see, he had become a pair of eyeballs floating a few feet above the ground in a dingy street full of parked cars. I never really picked up on this ever before just now. He's invisible? Like, that's so odd.
Yeah, I wonder, like, this just shows we need to give Mr. Weasley way more credit.
Yeah.
Like, how do you, what's the science? Well, there is no science, but like, what's the wizard science behind
Wizard science. Yeah.
behind extending the enchantment? So, first of all, making the enchantment localized to the booster button, and also extending the enchantment to encompass anything touching the car.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's a fat pack of toffees in the glove compartment as well. There's also trunks in the back and an
Right.
owl.
Right. You would imagine that it's just like the casing, it's like invisible paint
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, but I guess then you would just people would see like two
Well, but
floating
then
heads through
if
the
you're in the
window.
invisibility cloak, it makes. But then when you're inside the invisibility cloak, you can like
I guess
see
like, you
stuff
could say
inside
like the
it.
windows themselves are invisible as well. I'm just thinking of the windows, like
Oh.
because you just have to keep the windows up,
Yeah.
and the glass would become invisible.
Yeah. Yeah. I
The
don't know
glasses
that
already
the idea of
invisible.
yeah, I don't know how I feel about that now. I've kind of clocked what it's actually saying.
Yeah, like
It's a bit weird.
and I always imagined it like oh, I guess the invisibility booster conks out, doesn't it? Because I was just like, how would that be like eating? Like, how does he find the toffees? How does Ron drive the car? I mean,
Just by touch.
he's a 12-year-old. How used to this car is he gonna be? I mean, I can drive, but I don't think I could do it blindfolded, even if there was no roads or obstacles. You know, it's pretty
It's
bizarre.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the film, we don't really get much of the actual journey to Hogwarts, but in the book, we get much more detail of what it's like to fly in a car. It says, I always start it like that, and I feel like I need to come up with some better
Me too. I
sentence
don't know whether
starters.
there's any other segue of reading
No,
other than it
it
says.
says, it reads. Here it
Yeah.
reads. Open quote. Anyway, it
I
says,
could do it in German if you
just
just go through all
switch
the
it up a bit.
languages.
Yeah. Sometimes when we had to read stuff for English literature, me and my friend would do accents to make it more interesting. We'd like do a page each in an accent.
Nice.
Anyway,
That's a good idea.
so it says, due north, said Ron, checking the compass on the dashboard. Okay, we'll just have to check on it every half hour or so. Hold on. And they shot up through the clouds. A minute later, they burst out into a blaze of sunlight. I love this. It reminds me of when you're in a plane when it's cloudy and then you go up and then it's sunny because you're above the clouds.
Yeah,
It's
it
really cool.
reminds me of that bit in How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
With the music. Ah.
It was a different world. The wheels of the car skimmed the sea of fluffy cloud, the sky a bright, endless blue under the blinding white sun. All we've got to worry about now are aeroplanes, said Ron. They looked at each other and started to laugh. For a long time, they couldn't stop. It was as though they had been plunged into a fabulous dream. This, thought Harry, was surely the only way to travel, past swirls and turrets of snowy cloud, in a car full of hot, bright sunlight, with a fat pack of toffees in the glove compartment, and the prospect of seeing Fred and George's jealous faces when they landed smoothly and spectacularly on the sweeping lawn in front of Hogwarts Castle. And I mean, that sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, this is where J.K. Rowling really shines, isn't it? Like when
Yeah,
she
like
does season
descriptions.
changes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
her
The
season
weather. Something
changes
about the weather.
are spectacular. Yeah, yeah.
But
And this, like, when it says like they have like this vision of what it's gonna be like. Like I do
Yeah.
that all the time.
uh-huh.
You have like, oh, this day is just gonna be fantastic. I can just see it all. And you have like this beautiful, yeah. And the skimming. I love the car skimmed the sea of fluffy cloud. Oh, it's so good. I don't know.
Sibilance skimmed
Yeah.
the sea.
Oh, nice.
Thanks. I do English language. However, this does sound lovely, as we're saying, but
There
then
is a
bit
big however.
further on, it says, several uneventful hours later, however, Harry had to admit that some of the fun was wearing off. The toffees had made them extremely thirsty, and they had nothing to drink. He and
the
Ron had
worst.
pulled off their jumpers, but Harry's t-shirt was sticking to the back of his seat,
Ugh.
and his glasses kept sliding down the end of his sweaty nose. Ugh.
That's the other thing,
I-
like she thinks about like what would it actually be like
Yeah.
as well. Like I would never have thought, if I was writing this book, I would never have thought that it will eventually become very uncomfortable.
It was just like, wow, you're flying.
Yeah, I'm flying, Jack.
But yeah,
I'm
no,
flying.
then when you think about the practicality,
Yeah,
it would be gross and sweaty.
yeah.
And that feeling of having sweets in the car and then not having a bottle of water
Yes.
is the worst.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
genuinely the worst feeling
So
in the whole world.
relatable. Yeah.
It's awful. So
Especially with
that's
toffees.
great.
Like I feel like with boiled sweets, you can at least like bring back some saliva by continuing to
Yeah.
suck on the sweets. With
Yeah.
toffees, they like sap all
Yeah,
the
it's just
moisture.
claggy.
Yeah, claggy. That's a good word.
Yeah. So then we have our second pretty big difference for this episode. In the films, they added in the part where they almost get run over by the train and Harry almost falls out the car. I'm trying, your hands all sweaty. That bit. Great,
Yeah.
great moment. I love this
Yeah.
edition. I think it's so fun and it makes it more exciting and
Yeah,
it's-
I remember my mum being. Was it my mum? I can't remember. I remember, or maybe it was just the general vibe at the time. But when I first watched it as a kid, I remember it being a very hated part of the film. Because people were like, oh, that's so silly, it doesn't happen in the book. But because I had never watched it, I was like, are you kidding? It was like one of the most exciting parts of the
Yeah.
whole film.
What do they do then?
Yeah.
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 I've had a lot of people saying that they don't like it because it makes it feel too like action movie style, and like it's not the vibe of
The only
the
reason why
books and
I don't like
films.
it is because I'm like, well, clearly the people in the Hogwarts Express would be watching the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
That's what
that's
I
yeah,
don't like, but
yeah. I agree with you on that one. Um,
everyone
and
needs a bit of unnecessary drama and action.
yeah, yeah, especially an early 2000s family adventure movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so then the engine starts to fail towards the end of the journey. It, it says Ron put his foot on the accelerator and drove them upwards again, but as he did so, the engine began to whine. Harry and Ron exchanged nervous glances. He's probably just tired, said Ron. He's never been this far before.
Dun,
I
dun,
love how
dun.
optimistic Ron stays through all of it.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
And then, being even more, adorable, Ron starts to actually talk to the car. He says, "Not far," said Ron. "More to the car than Harry. Not far now." He patted the dashboard nervously. And then also lower down it says, "Come on," Ron said. Oh,
Cajolingly.
cajolingly.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of means
Interesting.
encouragingly.
Ah, nice. Word of the day for me then.
Yeah.
Giving the steering wheel a little shake. "Nearly there, come on." The engine groaned. Narrow jets of steam were issuing from under the bonnet. Harry found himself gripping the edges of his seat very hard as they flew towards the lake. The car gave a nasty wobble. Glancing out of his window, Harry saw the smooth, black, glassy surface of the water, a mile below. Ron's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. The car wobbled again. "Come on," Ron muttered.
I don't know about you. I had a thought about this that I would like to run by you. But I need to give it some context first.
Okay.
You know how for portraits, for anybody who doesn't know, with a portrait, the reason why the portrait is alive and able to approximate the character of the living person is because the person themselves have talked to the portrait after it's been painted for a long time. That's all canon. And I was wondering whether Ron talking to the car if that's the reason why the car starts to have a personality. And that's why the car kind of seems to favour Ron, it comes to
Yeah.
his rescue.
Yeah. Huh. I like
just-
that. I hadn't thought about it like that before.
Yeah, I
But-
thought maybe that's why, because I always wondered why the car became sentient. Because it is definitely sentient. It's a sentient,
Yeah.
like a creature
Yeah.
in the Forbidden Forest. It's like, how does that happen? But then I was like, portraits are sentient.
That makes sense. I think that's a interesting take. Yeah. No, yeah, I like that. I'll go with that.
You agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that makes the most sense rather than
Shower
I
thoughts.
don't know what other explanation because
Yeah.
it is always a bit of a strange plot point that the car becomes sentient and lives in the forest with
Yeah.
spiders.
Yeah.
But I feel like that makes me feel slightly better about it.
Oh, good. Okay. I also
yeah.
had another question about the car that I forgot to ask, which was about the undetectable extension charm. Then I was going to ask, how does it work when they're on the road? Like, is the car itself bigger? And if so, how does it work in a traffic jam on the road when there are surely cars to the left and right? Cars to the left of me, cars to the right, here I am. Sorry. Are they all transported to another space entirely? Like,
Well,
do they borrow
like the
a pocket of-
TARDIS. How does the TARDIS work?
The TARDIS is a pocket of space in itself. It's not. You're not
okay.
actually going into the. I think this is it anyway. Forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, but I believe you're not actually going into.
You're going
the
to a different
box.
place.
It's like a teleportation device.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's as big. It's unimmeasurable, the
Okay.
TARDIS.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's like
it's
infinite.
yes, it's infinite. Yeah.
So then Hermione's purse, where's all that stuff?
Exactly. This is
Is
what I'm
that
getting at. Is it a teleport?
is
Do you
that
borrow space from like the Sahara, or like a weird where space isn't needed, and you kind of put it there, or like what's happening here?
I I wish you hadn't said that because now
I'm
I'll never know
sorry.
peace.
I'm sorry.
Um
Maybe how do extension
I
charms work in Harry? I should have asked like Reddit in Harry Potter.
that
The extension charm was a charm that expanded the internal dimensions of an object without affecting the external dimensions. So we know that in the car, at least, there was no extra space needed on the road or anything. So that's at least
okay.
answered.
Yeah, it's not
Enhancing
like it
its
is physically bigger,
capacity.
but it looks smaller. It is physically smaller.
And
Okay.
rendering its contents lighter. So Hermione, it's not actually, her bag isn't heavy,
Yeah.
the car isn't weighed down by all of these extra people.
Yeah.
This charm was advanced magic and heavily controlled by the Ministry, apparently. I swear there's like, Hermione says there's like part of Glossop's law. Is there? I can't remember what his name
Isn't
is.
that just about transfiguration though?
And food, yeah.
Oh,
In the
food. Yeah,
seventh
yeah.
one, yeah.
Oh, there are a bunch on there, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe there's one about space, I would imagine. There
Yeah.
probably isn't one written at the moment, but like within the universe, I mean. There must be one about space. That would make sense.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not really responding very well because I am hearing what you're saying, but I'm reading on the wiki as well. I don't know, what are the laws? Harry Potter law on food. Gamp's law. Gamp's law. Let's see. Gamp's law. Gamp's law of elemental transfiguration. Yeah, it's just transfiguration. You cannot create something from nothing.
Right.
So that must extend to the extension charm.
Yeah,
So
I
my
I
theory,
like the idea of it being almost like a portal to some,
yeah, that's one of
I
my
don't know,
theories. And then the other
I don't
theory
know
is
what else it
that
could
like
be.
you take a piece of unneeded space,
Yeah.
like a chunk of, I don't know what that like it would even mean,
Right.
but a chunk of space, and the enchantment basically means that even though that space is now in terms of the car, in the car, it
It's not
still
outside the
takes
car.
out, yeah, it still takes the space from where the
This is
original
hurting my
space
head.
was. So it's not exactly a portal, but it's the same kind of, do you know what I'm kind of getting at?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be. I can't handle this. I can't handle this right now.
Well, I mean, I guess I've answered one question and come up with
Yeah.
5,000 more.
Balances out.
My mum says this about my granddad all the time. He's very well read. He's constantly reading, and she's constantly saying, "Granddad just has." I think his like main saying is, "I have too many questions for my answers," or something like. I feel like
Yeah.
that's Harry Potter. My feelings about
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Yep. So Harry and Ron crashing into the Whomping Willow is also very similar. Although in the book they don't fly right by the windows of the Great Hall like they do in the
Oh
film.
my gosh, that really annoys me. Again, everyone would see. Why is it
Yeah.
this massive surprise? Everyone's like, oh, there's Ron and Harry and Ron.
Yeah.
You could see all
And
of the students like racing to the window, like
yeah,
you would see all of their faces like pressed to the glass, like what the heck is happening? Sorry.
that's a good point. Um, yeah, and there are lines that are taken straight from the book, like "mind that tree" and "my wand, look at my wand."
He
But
lives
the
that
film,
so well.
yeah, the film adds, "Be thankful it's not your neck," which is I appreciate this kind of like sarcastic comment that they add for Harry,
once,
because they take a
yeah.
lot of them out,
Yeah.
as we say all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of ironic that the film takes out like all of them and then adds one.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice though. It's, you know,
Yeah, it is nice.
a bit of yeah. So in the book, they get out of the tree because the car's engine restarted, so they're able to just fly out. In the film, the tree just kind of knocks the car out of its branches, in a much
Yeah.
more
Rough and tumble way, I guess.
yeah, aggressive,
Yeah, aggressive.
life-threatening
Yeah.
way. Yeah, and in the book we get this lovely line from Ron. He says, "Can you believe our luck?" said Ron miserably, bending down to pick up Scabbers the rat. "Of all the trees we could have hit, we had to hit the one that hits back." Which is...
This reminds me of the bit that we have seen on our last studio tour trip. They added the animatronic tree hitting the car.
Huh?
Oh gosh, have I just spoiled? I swear you were there.
Probably. What, in what bit?
It's in the main exhibition hall. I think it's near Malfoy and
Oh,
Snape.
yeah, it's where they have all the green
The
screen
Quidditch
stuff.
stuff and the green scene
Yeah,
stuff.
okay, yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. It's cool.
That's a really cool bit of the studio tour. Sponsor us.
Please give us all the merch, because we can't pause time for 2 weeks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So then in the film, they're seen straight away, but in the book, they're in Hogwarts for a while, just kind of wandering around before they're actually caught. It says, "It wasn't at all the triumphant arrival they had pictured. Stiff, cold and bruised, they seized the ends of their trunks and began dragging them up the grassy slope towards the great oak front doors." "I think the feast's already started," said Ron, dropping his trunk at the foot of the front steps and crossing quietly to look through a brightly lit window. "Hey Harry, come and look! It's the sorting!" And, well, yeah, you'll have to wait until our next episode to find out who it is that catches Harry and Ron in the book.
And if
Ooh.
you haven't read the book, it will genuinely be a surprise.
The answer will shock you. Top 10.
It'll shock you to your
Annoying
very
tales.
core. I bet you're sitting on tenterhooks.
Yeah, drop your predictions in the comments below. Who do you think?
I mean, yeah.
So,
I wonder what I would have said. Anyway,
yeah.
I won't say because I'll probably reveal
'Cause
who
you-
it actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that on that.
That's that on that.
For the main chunk. So now, just for a quick little glance over the morals map. As we're going on, we're kind of going to the same places over and over again, so slim pickings. But I did want to mention, I might have said this before, but we have that super cool shot of the Ford Anglia taking off after they leave King's Cross and flying up into the air, but they are actually outside St Pancras Station rather than outside King's Cross Station.
Oh right, okay. Oh, let me have a look. Some Pancras Station. That's interesting. I don't think you've mentioned this before.
Oh, nice. All right. Good.
Unless I've
'Cause
got a terrible memory, which is true. So maybe.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, with the domed
It's the
ceiling.
kind of red brick and and the big tower.
Yeah.
I think that's partially because it looks nicer than
Oh yeah.
the outside of King's Cross, and
Yeah.
maybe it was easier to film there.
Probably as well. Yeah.
So yeah, well, that was a fun fact. And then
That's cool.
the other thing, which I definitely have mentioned before, I've mentioned that one of the locations for the journey to Hogwarts on the Hogwarts Express was the Glenfinnan Viaduct, but this is the viaduct where they fly right in front of the train and they do the whole "your hands all sweaty" sequence. That's Glenfinnan Viaduct, which I would love to visit. Looks very cool.
It's a really good it's a really good one. I've been there,
Yeah.
which I've mentioned in Philosopher's Stone.
Last time. Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, I thought I'd
it's
mention it again 'cause it's more
well
of a-
worth the visit.
Nice. Yeah, it's more of a set piece almost in this one than
Yeah.
in the first one. They just kind of pass it by more.
Yeah. It's like a scenic shot.
Right, exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's that on that. That's all we have to say.
If we
towards
have
that.
merch, maybe that'll be a t-shirt with
Okie dokie.
so that's that on that.
That's that on
and
that.
okie dokie. And so it says.
Yeah. Or just so
Yeah.
a needle pulling thread.
Nice.
We'll sell sewing kits. That can be our
Yes.
business model.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
So that concludes
Nice.
this episode of Potterwatch. Thank you from page to screen.
Keep twiddling those dials. Keep each other safe. Keep faith.
Good
Good
night.
night. Seated at Mao. I didn't realise that would be so hard to say.